Hi, my name's Noah Rex, and today I'm going to teach you a little bit about a house named the Peyton Randolph house. So, the Peyton Randolph house, it was actually built in 1715 and was actually sold to a guy named John Randolph. And John Randolph did a little couple stuff with the house. He actually bought an eastern lot with that house, and upon his death, his son got it, which is Peyton Randolph, and Peyton Randolph obviously is where you get the name at. And actually, this house is one of the most haunted houses in America. The USA Today actually voted it as one of the most haunted houses in America, and that's why you get that. And a little bit about this house, or a little bit about Peyton Randolph, is Peyton Randolph actually was a former president of the United States. His cousin is actually Thomas Jefferson. So, pretty big. About this guy and, about the house is how did it all start? Well, it all started in the Revolutionary War. And in this war, the Williamsburg governor told the slaves at the time, hey, if you join this war with the British and y'all win, y'all are free. Well, a couple slaves abandoned their owners at the Randolph house, one including the big one is Eve, and Eve was the personal slave to Miss Randolph. And so after the war was over, the slaves was returned and everything like that, and Eve was just treated absolutely terrible. I mean, just absolutely terrible. And she was actually sewed upon death by Miss Randolph, and so she was forever separated from her son. And so that's when all the stuff started bad happening. There's actually a report that two guys got into a heated argument, and when they got into a heated argument, they pulled out guns on each other. Both shot each other, ironically, at the same time, and both passed away inside the house. And so there's been two kids that passed away inside this house, one from a window, and one from actually hanging off of a tree, and a tree branch broke, and they broke their neck and passed away. And so there's actually been a Civil War veteran that went inside the house, and when he went inside the house, he mysteriously just passed away. There's no explanation for how he passed away. He just went inside the house for basically a tour, you could say, and just completely passed away. So early sightings of this house, I think the earliest sighting was in 1824. It was about a guy who was just traveling across different states. Well, he came to Williamsburg, and when he came to Williamsburg, even upon arrival at this house, he walked in and he felt a little nudge on his shoulder. And, expecting that you're going to look behind yourself and you find absolutely nobody, so you're going to get creeped out a little bit. And even at his stay, he said that he could not fall asleep in this house, that he just could hear all these voices and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I would not be able to, go to sleep in a house that I hear voices at and stuff like that. And so, whenever you hear all these voices and stuff, pass on. And eventually, another more recently, I would say, story was in the 1960s. These two kids had a dorm there, and a man and a woman. So the man was staying in his place, and he woke up mysteriously with a light. Well, you would assume that it's a dream. Well, it wasn't a dream. The bed started shaking absolutely violently and stuff like that. So he ran outside the house, never returned, said he never would return to that house, which makes sense. I don't think I would return for my belongings either if it meant that I had to go back inside that house. Another story is a security guard actually was doing a little night tour there, and he actually got his legs trapped. He was in a basement and got his legs trapped, and he could not move. So when he couldn't move, he radioed in people, and about 10 minutes later, people came finally, and it felt like he just got released by his legs and stuff. So he walked out of there, and there was a girl that lived on the eastern side of this house, and when she lived on the eastern side of this house, she would hear these noises of a baby crying, and she would call security. Over time, she would feel more and more dumb about it because they could never find anybody inside this house. They could never find a baby or anything like that. So, you know, it made her look more dumb, but nobody, I mean, everybody still kind of believed her that she would hear this stuff. Well, upon her death in 2000, uh, probably shortly after that, when she passed away, there was a fire alarm that went off in the house, and people was rushing in, and they was trying to figure out how in the world did a fire extinguisher in the middle of the room, how are you going to get in there? Like, they could not find a way in there. Well, eventually they found a way in, and it was through a window. And when they found it through the window, they seen all this white powdery stuff on the floor, but there was no footprints, nothing, and they even checked the house after that to see, hey, if there's an intruder inside the house or anything like that. Well, the fire extinguisher, the little key circle around it was off. They still haven't found that key or how it even got off and stuff like that, where when they picked it up on the floor below, it was all white powder again. There was no sign that even fell off the thing, and nobody's ever been able to explain that, and they don't ever will. Another thing is people are saying, well, how is this so haunted? How is this place that haunted and stuff? Well, in the 1930s, two people figured out that there was 2 Indians buried underneath this house. Whenever they got the house, like whenever they built the house, there was 2 Indians underneath the house that got buried there, and actually they would, a person inside the house wanted any belongings that was digged up. And so the people finally just was like, whatever we find, we'll give to you. And they found some pottery and all that other stuff. Well, comes to figure out that about in the 1940s, they're making a little tunnel for Williamsburg, and they realized that there was a lot more Indian stuff underneath here. And so that means that, in a way, that there's more Indian stuff, or there's more Indian bodies around this house that we have no clue about, and nobody else knew about it. And that's why you could say that it's one of the most haunted places, with all of these shootings and all of these sightings and stuff like that. And they say even today, they take EMF detectors inside the house or stuff, and it could be fully charged and completely die on the spot. I mean, absolutely just die, and there's no explanation for that, obviously. And so nowadays, even people that walk in there can still pass out just randomly. They can't explain why these people just pass out and all this other stuff. And that's just a little bit about the house of Peyton Randolph, and I'm glad I got to tell the story, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.